within the end of this movie, it teaches us hopefully acceptance and hopefully that life can move on and that like you can still hold a part of somebody or like an opportunity or something with you, but you can move forward with it and it doesn't have to hold you back.
Sophie, goddamn, this movie's terrifying. I would walk by dark rooms and just have this movie in my head because it's like that fear of the unknown and the darkness that scares me.
It's the fear of the unknown.
It is. Look, this movie it's more of a haunted house movie than it is a creature feature, and I love that. It's terrifying. But what was it about the script and the character of Sadie that really drew you into this project?
I think Sadie is just really complex and has such an interesting story arc and a very satisfying hero's journey, and that's just fun to play out because you get to play through so many different heightened emotions. So it's challenging as an actor, but there's just like so much at stake. And she just has so many interesting dynamics with her family. There was just so much there, and it's Stephen King, so like of course the characters are well written. You
carry this movie. I mean, you're such a phenomenal performer in this.
Thank you.
How did your understanding of Sophie evolve over the course of the project?
Interesting question. I love that. I feel like I taught myself that I can be like. That I can release myself and I don't always have to be in control and aware. Because like to get to these points of such like crazy circumstances and such like so much anxiety, you just have to release yourself. You have to rid yourself of ego. You have to be like, okay, I'm just gonna commit and go for this. And I think having that realization that I can do that, because I feel like everybody just like wants to be in control, but kind of lacking that for a second. It's scary, but it can help your work because it just makes you completely vulnerable and open.
Now, I know that Rob developed a pretty in-depth lore Bible for the Boogeyman, but did you develop aspects of Sadie's backstory when crafting the character that impacted your performance?
Yeah, it was very important to build Sadie before her grieving process because I think she was a very different person to like figure out those differences. I made a playlist for her so I can kind of like live in her headspace. And I don't think it was necessarily what she would listen to, but it was songs that would get me to what she was feeling. Gotcha. So that was important for me, but also just like building what she was like with her friends before. Like it wasn't that she was a total loner, but this has forced her more into isolation because she feels disconnected from everybody.
Now, we had mentioned earlier, it's what you don't see that scares you the most. And I think
exactly, yeah.
I think Rob does a fantastic job of doing that in the film. Can you talk about what Rob Savage's directing style added to this film?
He's incredible. He's so passionate, and he brings this like fresh outlook because he's young and just so passionate about horror and knows everything. So you just give him complete trust. He knows how to make everything work. He knows how to make the jump scares justified and not just jump scares. Like you feel it. You really feel it. But he was just like, to some extent, also felt like a scene partner because there's the Boogeyman and there's like stuff that I'm reacting to, but he would go to the extra extent of like, you know, like making a sound for me to react to or like just was very like adamant on making sure I was present and there and like could get there. So it was very helpful.
This film is terrifying, but also with your character and Vivian's character, it has humanity and deep emotions with it as well.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about balancing the humanity and deep emotions with the jump scares and the monster tension that's found in the film?
Yeah, I think that is just the core. I mean, the core of any movie, but for horror to work, you have to build empathy within the character. And immediately when I read the script, it's like Sadie is going through so much. And I think to make her feel real and like she's actually grieving, that they're actually a family. I think we had a couple of weeks before shooting and we all tried to get close and like did some outings and just made sure there was a closeness within us naturally. Because you read that on screen. You want to feel that there's like a lived-in family dynamic. But I think that the core of their emotions informs everything for the viewer because if you don't feel for them, then you're not going to want to follow them on their journey.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, can you talk to me about what draws you into the horror genre and subgenre with the Boogeyman and like Yellowjackets? I
just think there's so much fun to play with in your imagination. You get to do things that hopefully you'll never get to experience. You get to be creative, you get to use your imagination, you get to really test your limits as an actor and release yourself. It's always, I've been drawn to telling darker stories because they can be the most therapeutic.
Sure.
And they can evoke the most feelings out of you. So that's probably why.
You know, speaking about that, I think that great horror does this thing where it makes you think after you get done watching the film.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk about what this film says about grief?
I think this film, there's so many different ways of grieving, and everyone experiences it in their own way, and it doesn't always have to be like the loss of somebody. I think we all experienced it with COVID, the loss of time. But I think within the end of this movie, it teaches us hopefully acceptance, and hopefully that life can move on, and that like you can still hold a part of somebody or like an opportunity or something with you, but you can move forward with it, and it doesn't have to hold you back.
Both Sadie and your character from Yellowjackets, Natalie, have lost a piece of their innocence, but where Natalie becomes more fractured, Sadie becomes stronger. Can you talk about the different approaches and arcs with these characters?
I love that question. I feel like they just deal with their turmoil in different ways, very different ways. I think Natalie's very outwards with it and very just like confrontational, but then also they both kind of internalize their turmoil and they internalize their sadness, but Natalie is just more aggressive, and I think Sadie just takes it much more inwards, and that's what's so satisfying about her hero's journey. She's forced out of it, and I think because we're in TV show format, we have more time to like show her arc, and we're still going through it. So
look, Sophie, you were phenomenal in this. You're phenomenal in Yellowjackets. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, and I love this film. Thank you.
I
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.